everything that happens to you is something you created, promoted, or allowed to happen. If you can become aware of what you did that created the situation that didn't work, you can uncreate it and recreate it. Live your life as a set of 30-day experiments. When you hear something that might be useful, we are engaged in what are called habits that don't work. But we stick with them because we've been doing them for 20, 30 years. And it's not comfortable to meditate when you'd rather be in bed. It's not comfortable to ask for what you want when you're afraid of rejection. It's not comfortable to confront people when you don't trust them. But it's those uncomfortable things that are going to get you where you want to go. How many of you are solo entrepreneurs, meaning you're the one person doing the job, or you're the entrepreneur head of your company? How many of you own your own company? Okay, so for you, you don't have anyone to report to. So you tend to do the easy things instead of the complicated and hard things. And that won't get you where you want to go. If you're an employee and your boss says, go do that, call the president and see if you can get a meeting for me, you're going to do it because your boss said to do it. But if you own your own company, or you're an entrepreneur or a consultant or an author or a coach or whatever, then we tend to put those things off because they're uncomfortable. But if I have an accountability partner, what's your name? Say it again. Freddie? Let's say Freddie's my accountability partner, which means every morning, Monday through Friday, Freddie and I are going to get on the phone for 5 minutes, no longer, because then it becomes a burden. 5 minutes. And I'm going to tell him the 5 action steps I'm going to take today in order to achieve my major goal or goals. He's going to tell me the 5 action steps he's going to take. I may even challenge him. Are you sure those are the things you really need to do or not? But the next day, I'm going to ask him, did you do those 5 things? And I'm going to write them down. Now, if he didn't do them, after a couple days, he gets real embarrassed. I can't tell Jack again I didn't do it. And so by Thursday or Friday, he gets it done. Accountability. Could be a coach, could be a mentor, could be a boss. It should not be your wife or your husband. It turns into bad stuff, okay? But you want someone that's committed to success, that's not going to BS you, that's going to hold you accountable, going to give you some tough love if it were. That technique, people often say to me, you have 64 principles in your book. If you only had one, what would it be? What's the most important one? I say, well, if you could only keep one organ in your body, what would you keep? Your heart, your lungs? You need more than one. However, having an accountability partner, meditation, clear goals, and action, those are key things. And so this accountability is really critical. I've had accountability partners and also mastermind groups of 5 or 6 of us who get together on the phone every 2 weeks as well. And we coach each other and we hold each other accountable and so forth. But you need that. It's really, really important. So we'll talk about that a little more too. So if we go back to the slides, thank you. So whether you're an entrepreneur, a boss, or whether you're just an employee, or even if you're not employed, these same 4 differences apply to everyone. Now, let's delve in a little deeper. The first characteristic, 100% responsibility. Notice it doesn't say 99% or 50%. How many of you would like to be married to someone who is 99% committed to monogamy? Right? You'd always be wondering, oh, is today the day? I don't know. I've got to be careful here. And if it's 50-50, like we always say, well, relationships, 50% my wife, 50% me. When anything goes wrong, it's always her 50%, as far as I'm concerned, right? So that doesn't work. So I want you to act as if, over the next 30 days as an experiment, and act as if everything that happens to you is something you created, promoted, or allowed to happen. You're 100% responsible. If your wife leaves you, you could ask yourself, how did I create that? And maybe you get some answers like, well, I didn't come home when I said I was going to come home all the time. I worked too much. I was never there for her. I never listened to her. I interrupted her all the time. I'd rather watch cricket on television than talk to her. You know, whatever it is. Because if you can become aware of what you did that created the situation that didn't work, you can uncreate it and recreate it. And create new habits and new ways of being, which we're going to look at today. So I want you to act as if. Just as it's an experiment. Everything I teach you and everything they've taught you today and everything you learn ever, experiment with it. One of my friends said someone told him once, you should be a vegetarian. I know a lot of you are vegetarians. And he was a meat eater, and he said, well, why should I be a vegetarian? He said, well, you'll feel better. And he said, well, I don't know if I will or not. And the guy said, well, you won't know unless you try. So for 30 days, be a vegetarian. So for 30 days, he stopped eating meat and fish. He was a vegetarian. He felt better. And then one of his friends said, you should be a vegan. So he became a vegan. He felt better. Now, I was a vegetarian for 17 years. And I weighed 155 pounds, which is a lot less than I weigh today. But I was sick a lot. I wasn't getting enough protein. And so I started eating fish again. But the point being, trust your experience. But if you don't try it on, you won't know if it works for you or not. So live your life as a set of 30-day experiments. When you hear something that might be useful, like don't read the newspaper for a month, see if you feel better. Don't listen to the news, you'll definitely feel better. You know, we in America, we have Donald Trump for the president. Every time we turn on the TV, it's like, oh no. What's going on? It's not good. So if you don't watch the TV, you don't have to feel bad. But the point being, 30-day experiments. Everything I teach you today, try it on for 30 days. See what happens. It'll really, because trust yourself. You'll see it works. All right. This is the most important thing I'm going to say all day, right here, this little formula. Let me ask this question first. How many of you have read my book, The Success Principles, or How to Get From Where You Are? Okay, good. So most of you haven't, so I'll spend a little time with this. So E plus R equals O. It's a formula. What it stands for is events plus your response to that event equals an outcome. Outcomes are how healthy you are, how much you weigh, how much money you have, how many friends you have, how many employees like you, all those kind of things. Those are outcomes. And how your children behave, that's an outcome, right? I had 2 parenting books up here. So basically, an event happens. I want you to think of it as a mathematical formula. 2 plus 2 equals 4. And so if your income is 4 and you're happy with that, then don't change anything. But sometimes a recession comes along, or your company loses market share, or the invention you made is replaced by a better invention and nobody's buying your product anymore, or your service. People are doing it online, like Amazon, instead of coming to your retail store. Now the world's doing 1, you keep doing 2, you're only getting 3. So sometimes the world changes and you have to change just to stay even. But the deal is if you want 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, you can't keep doing 2. And that's the problem for people. We are engaged in what are called habits that don't work. But we stick with them because we've been doing them for 20, 30 years. Let me show you something real quick. Everyone fold your hands like this. Notice which thumb you have on top, your right thumb or your left thumb. Now, if you have your right thumb on top, raise your hand. Look around the room. People with their right thumb on top, these are the better thinkers. How many of your left thumb on top? These are the sexy people. Okay? Now, did anyone have neither thumb on top? They're right next to each other. One person back there. These people think they're sexy even when they're not. This is what happens here, right? No, there's no research. I made that up just for fun. But fold your hands again. Fold them again. Fold them again. Same thumbs on top, right? That's called a habit. You'll do it that way every time. Now what I want you to do is to unfold your hands, move your fingers up 1 notch so the other thumb naturally comes on top. Don't just move the thumbs, but move the fingers up so the other thumb is on top. How does that feel? Awkward, weird, strange, wrong, yucky. What's your body want to do? Wants to change it back. So go ahead and change it back. How does that feel? Comfortable, better? This is why most people never get what they want. They'd rather be comfortable, right? So they'd rather be comfortable than do what's necessary. It's not comfortable to get up early and exercise when everyone else is sleeping. It's not comfortable to meditate when you'd rather be in bed. It's not comfortable to ask for what you want when you're afraid of rejection. It's not comfortable to confront people when you don't trust them. It's not comfortable to say I have a boundary instead of being codependent and trying to make everyone happy all the time when you need to be taking some time for yourself. So it's not comfortable to have those difficult conversations with your employees and your partners and so forth. But it's those uncomfortable things that are going to get you where you want to go. And by its very nature, everything new is uncomfortable. When you first learned to ride a bicycle, it was awkward. When you first learned to drive a car, it was awkward. You know, I'm 74, we started with stick shift cars. Some of you have never driven a stick shift car. But if you don't put the clutch in, when you hit the brake, the car goes like this. Eventually you get to the point where you can drive with your knee, have a soda in one hand and break up a fight in the back seat with the other hand, right? But you have to go through the awkward stage to get there. Standing up on stage like this, when I first did it, was awkward. I was scared. My legs were shaking like this. And what I realized is when your legs are shaking, part of you is going run away, and then a part staying, stay here. So run away, stay here, run away, stay here, run away, stay here. And that's what that shaking's all about. You seen little kids try not to cry? Their chin's quivering. Cry, don't cry, cry, don't cry, cry, don't cry. It's an equal battle going on. But now you'll find it's hard to get me to stop. I love what I do. But I had to go through that awkward stage. How many of you are in sales? You sell stuff. Wouldn't it be easier to sell stuff to 600 people at a time than one at a time? But if you're not comfortable standing in front of an audience, you can't do that. It's not comfortable to put your book out there and have everyone possibly judge it. So you got to be willing to be uncomfortable. Some of the things I'm going to ask you to do in the future will be a little uncomfortable the first time. It won't be painful. But here, we know this too. Fold your hand again the right way. Now fold it the new way. And what we know is if you held this for about 10 minutes, it would stop feeling uncomfortable. I'm not going to ask you to do that right now. You don't need to do that. More important to take notes. But the important thing is your body will adjust to it, but you have to give it enough time. And that's true with everything.